The following story tells of one who went through the glass and broke the chains that bound her. 2 years ago, I was taken to the hospital with a serious blood clot condition which apparently had affected the entire vascular system, causing hardening of arteries and arthritis. A nerve in my head was damaged and my thyroid enlarged. Doctors could not agree on the cause of this condition, and all their treatments were completely ineffective. I was forced to give up my every enjoyable activity and remain in bed most of the time. My body, from hips to toes, felt as though it was encased and bound by tight wires, and I couldn't put my feet on the floor without wearing heavy hip-length elastic stockings. I knew something of your teaching and tried very hard to apply what I had heard. But as my condition grew worse, and I could no longer attend any of your lectures, my despondency grew deeper. One day a friend sent me a postcard picturing the scene of a lovely beach by the ocean. The picture was so beautiful, I looked and looked at it and began to remember past summer days at the seashore with my parents. For a moment, the postcard picture seemed to become animated, and flooding memories of myself running free on the beach filled my mind. I felt the impact of my bare feet against the hard, wet sand. I felt the icy water running over my toes and heard the crash of waves breaking on shore. This imaginal activity was so satisfying to me as I lay in bed that I continued to imagine this wonderful scene day after day for about 1 week. What is that, 7 days? One morning I moved from my bed to a couch and had started to sit up when I was seized with such an excruciating pain my entire body became paralyzed. I could neither sit up nor lie down. This terrible pain lasted for more than a full minute. But when it stopped, I was free. It seemed as if all the wires binding my legs had been cut. One moment I was bound, the next moment I was free. Not by degrees, but instantly. Signed, VH. We walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. When we walk by sight, we know our way by objects which our eyes see. When we walk by faith, we order our life by scenes and actions which only imagination sees. Isn't it wonderful when you get up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom and you decide, I'm going to start walking through my house that I see as my new house. And you walk through the rest of it with your eyes closed. Of course, your hands are out a little bit cautiously. Want to watch out for the walls or furniture. Walk slowly. But most importantly, you're feeling yourself into the new environment. The same way Neville got out of the army. He imagined he was at home in his apartment with his wife in one bed, his daughter in her crib, and he's over going to go into the next bed. His eyes were closed when he did that. You can do that simply as you walk to the bathroom, that this is the new house you're in. This is in your new marriage right now. Your spouse is in bed and you're going to the restroom. This is not in the hospital that I walk. This is at home with my family that I walk because I'm healthy and I'm at home again. Whatever the circumstance, it's with your eyes closed. When we walk by sight, we know our way by objects our eyes see. When we walk by faith, we order our life by scenes and actions which only imagination sees. Man perceives by the eye of imagination or by sense. But 2 mental attitudes to perception are possible: the creative imaginative effort which meets with an imaginative response, or the unimaginative staying of the eye which merely reflects. Man has within him the principle of life and the principle of death. One is the imagination building its imaginal structures out of the generous dreams of fancy. The other is the imagination building its imaginal structures from images reflected by the chill wind of fact that's out here. One creates, the other perpetuates. Man must adopt either the way of faith or the way of sight. Let's take that in. That's it. To the extent that man builds from dreams of fancy, He is alive. And therefore, the development of the faculty to pass through the reflective glass of the senses is an increase of life. It follows that restricting the imagination by staying the eye on the reflective glass of the senses is a reduction of life, perpetuating what you see. You see the homeless guy, and you don't think anything except that, oh, wow, poor guy. That's the reflection, and in fact, it's even a reduction. But the other side, if you're creatively seeing them and their new opportunity, very successful and happy with a new place to stay, and they're driving their own car now, and someone else cooks their food, and they're as happy as can be because it's only them that can do that. And that makes them happy, happy, happy. And you can hear them telling you that. That is passing through the reflective glass of the senses as an increase of life. There is a difference. Pour water on the wounds. The specious, that's how it's spelled, the specious surface of fact reflects rather than discloses, deflecting the eye of imagination from the truth that sets man free. The eye of imagination, if not deflected, looks on what ought to be there, not what is. However familiar the scene on which sight rests, the eye of imagination could gaze on one never before witnessed. Remember, this is the eye that reflects. This is the eye that imagines. It is this eye, it might be here, okay? Doesn't make a difference. Let's say here. It is this eye of imagination, and only this, that can free us from the sense fixation of our outer things, which completely dominates our ordinary existence and keeps us looking on the reflective glass of facts. Boom, boom, boom. Out here, out here, out here. Reflective glass of facts. My teacher once told me about the idea of we were talking about, I was reading the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox. I'm going to say this is circa 1993-ish. We were discussing that book and what Emmett Fox was on about, and she told me, she just stopped me and she says, look, she said, this is so far ago, I could barely comprehend it at that time. But she said, look, he was crucified on the mount between two thieves, right? And I says, what? She goes, yeah, Christ is your mind. He was crucified up here between two thieves. These are the thieves that rob you. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, that is new. I never looked at anything that way before. This was during our initial conversations. And I'm like, that turned Emmett Fox up a big notch when I was reading that book. And it was he's a great author, and that is a great book if you haven't read it. But to take that to that level and to realize that my eyeballs were represented the thieves he was crucified between in the Sermon on the Mount, right? In that whole concept. I don't even know if the crucifixion has anything to do with the sermon. I'm just saying, I was reading that book at the time. And when she told me that, it really blew my mind, and it still does, because as we're reading this, he's discussing exactly how the eye you see through, as the Blake previous quote was talking about, the eye you see with, not the eye you see through, in that previous Blake quote, which is wonderful, and I don't have it memorized. Either way, when she told me that really, that's the eye you're seeing through. Wait, am I right? The eye you see with, the eye you see through, you understand where we're getting at here. One's reflecting, one's imagining. That's the point. Whatever you're seeing with imagination, you can be correcting and pouring the oil on the wounds. If you're reflecting, you're perpetuating. You're just robbing yourself of the true treasure, literally. The actual treasure. The treasure you've been seeking your whole life is brought to you by the eye of imagination. Not the eyes that rob you of that treasure. Something to think about. I tell you, So many wonders to behold. It is this eye of imagination and only this that can free us from the sense fixation of outer things, which completely dominates our ordinary existence and keeps us looking on the reflective glass of facts. It is possible to pass from thinking of to thinking from, but the crucial matter is thinking from. For example, experiencing the state, for that experience means unification. Whereas in thinking of, there is always subject and object, the thinking individual and the thing thought of. Self-abandonment, that is the secret. We have to abandon ourselves to the state in our love for the state, and in so doing, live the life of the state and no more our present state. Imagination seizes upon the life of the state and gives itself to the expression of the life of that state. Be the moth into the flame. The moth was so in love with the flame and wanted to be one with it, that he, and I don't know if he knows it or not, but to be one with the flame was a heck of a price, because he flies right into it and becomes the flame. Are you willing to put that kind of dedication into the state you want to be? The state your dreams are telling you would be the most fulfilling. Your desire that screams from within you wants that impression to happen as much as you want it to happen, so that you can objectify and become the expression of that great dream that is only unique to you, your own desire. Are you willing to be the moth in the flame? If you are, you will not only objectify that, but now that you learn this new skill, you'll objectify continuously the things, and you will continuously upgrade your life around this wonderful wheel. You will continually ascend. You see it work once, is all you need. But no one's coming to the rescue. No one's coming to do it for you. You have to accept that. I got to repeat this paragraph because it is so amazing. Self-abandonment, that is the secret. We have to abandon ourselves to the state in our love for the state. And in so doing, live the life of the state and no more our present state. Imagination seizes upon the life of the state and gives itself to the expression of the life of that state. Be the moth in the flame. Faith plus love is self-commission. We can't commit ourselves to what we do not love. Never would you have made anything if you had not loved it. And to make the state alive, one must become it. I live, yet not I, God lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. God loved man, his created, and became man in faith that this act of self-commission would transform the created into the creative. There's the ultimate paragraph right there. I mean, listen. He loves you so much, he gives himself to become you. He wants to be this state so much that he gives himself fully. Do you think you have the commitment? Do you think you have the dedication? It was definitely born in you. If he gave everything to be you, are you willing to dedicate a little effort? You definitely have the skill. It's in you already. It's not out of you. It's not out here. It's not in an app. It's not in a training program that has promises that aren't going to give you what you. If something's going to promise to deliver something to you that's out here, and it's not telling you that it's going to deliver you more you, then it's the wrong direction. More you is what we're after here. It's always about you. It's never about out here. Know now from this that it's already in you. All we're doing in these conversations is unveiling this layer by layer by layer until you practice it, see it succeed, and then bam, you're off to the races. Everything will pop off. Let's repeat this most profound few sentences right here, starting with the quote. And to make the state alive, one must become it. Quote, I live, yet not I, God lives in me, and the life I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. End quote. God loved man, his created, and became man in faith that this act of self-commission would transform the created into the creative. Good golly. Excuse me. It's times like this. It's times like this when you just go, man, wow. Look at it from that perspective. That's incredible. You have the skill set because it was born in you. To know that there is one who so loves you to commit to be you so much, like the moth and the flame, gives himself fully and wakes up in you, being you, forgetting. And all your job is to remember that you have this skill. We must be imitators of God as dear children and commit ourselves to what we love. As God who loved us committed himself to us, we must be the state to experience the state. This is pretty real. Man, this is some good stuff. Neville laying it down. All right, let's see if we can continue. I must laugh my way through this. It is so profound.